Good afternoon, everyone. We are the Group 5, and today we are going to present the result of our survey on the e-safety rules in schools. The reporters are Christine Landayan, Kark Lopez, Zea Hulagpos, Mirande, and Louringel Ochavo. So, in connection with the activity in setting application 6, our group interviewed the following persons: one student, one teacher, and an ICT manager. We asked the following questions for each. Question 2.1: do you have an ICT facility in the school? What composes this facility? Question 2.2: who are allowed to use the facility? Question 2.3: what are the policy, guidelines, and rules in the use of the facility? Question 2.4: what are the e-safety rules that needs to be followed by any user? Now, here are our objectives in today's report. So, it is expected that we will be able to show all the recorded information. Second, elucidate separate answers from the ICT manager, student, and teacher. And last but not the least, share the findings with the class, especially the commonalities and differences between the respondents' answer. Now, without further ado, let's get started. May I call on Sir Kark Lopez to report the findings on our interview with the ICT manager. Sir Kark?
We are very fortunate because we know someone who is an ICT expert from Lifehouse Montessori Academy. He is none other than Jasper Pimentel, the ICT expert and computer instructor of the school. He helps everyone in solving technical problems related to computer and, of course, represent the school in events which concerns the ICT. Okay, we have had a very meaningful conversation through Messenger and fun conversation when we have this face-to-face interview. Okay, the first question that I raised was about the ICT facility in the school. According to him, they embraced from the very basic form of ICT infrastructure. Yeah, they have a school phone. They use that to call the parents if they have concerns. And if they want to have a text blast, they also use that one. Just recently, they invested laptops and computers for school use. Since the pandemic started, they also have various online platforms to make the teaching and learning process possible. They use the school system like Google Meeting, Zoom, Google Classroom, and they also avail of the school system provided by Wella School System, which comes with everything that you need to run the school seamlessly. They also have an app available on Play Store for the parents. The second question that I ask is about who are allowed to use the facility. Okay, according to him, the facilities are intended for the school use, meaning to say all the students, the teachers, and other non-teaching staffs are allowed to access these facilities. I also ask about the rules and guidelines they follow. He strongly emphasized that the teachers and other staffs strictly follow this one. Even if students are not around, they practice modeling this, so that during face-to-face, the kids will be able to absorb the culture. Since Lifehouse Montessori is an authentic Montessori, their learning involves practical life application. So wherever they go, they always bear the guidelines that their teachers had given them. Okay, for example, to keep their password, personal information secure, and to make sure that their device are always secured, most especially if they are utilizing their passwords in their device and to pay attention to software updates, and of course to make sure that their Wi-Fi networks are protected with strong passwords, and they are always encouraged to make use of the two-factor authentication set up in their devices, and to back up their personal data. Okay, those are the important things that I learned from Coach Jesper. During their work cycle inside the ICT room, okay, students are reminded to use incognito mode if opening their email accounts, and to always log out their accounts and keep their password in private. They were also asked to always back up their files or data, and as much as possible, never log in their personal accounts when using the ICT room. They were also asked not to upload or save personal pictures using the computer. Yeah. And to use the facility for school purposes only. Okay, these are the rules that the teachers and students observe inside the ICT facility. For most, all forms of drinks are not allowed inside the ICT room. Installing game applications and so as playing games inside are not allowed. Okay. Letter of permission from teachers is required as a gate entry for every student to use the facility. Okay. Internet use is limited to research purposes only. The time limit per student is 1 hour per work cycle. Okay. They also need to observe silence and ask for assistance politely.
Good day, everyone. My name is Zea Hulagpos. My task for this reporting is to read the answers of the students that we have interviewed and give few insights about it. By the way, her name is Abigail Bandolon. She is currently a first-year college student at Salay Community College. At this juncture, allow me to read her answers. Question number 1. Do you have an ICT facility in the school? What composes this facility? According to her, yes, they have an ICT facility in their school which composes of 10 computers with good internet connection. Question number 2. Who are allowed to use the facility? According to her, the students, teachers, and other utility personnel that works under the school premises are allowed to use the facility. Question number 3. What are the policy, guidelines, and rules in the use of facility? According to her, the policy, guidelines, and rules in the use of facility include proper handling or usage of computers and awareness of software viruses to avoid any damages. Also, they need to ask permission or assistance before entering the facility and before using the computers. Question number 4. What are the e-safety rules that need to be followed by any user? According to her, the e-safety rules that need to be followed by any user were to avoid disclosure of personal information and installation of application or software without the permission of their ICT facilitator. Also, they are not allowed to browse any illegal materials and they are encouraged to respect intellectual property rights. Also, they need to keep their gadgets secure. Based on our answers, I think the best keyword is respect. Respect in a sense that they need to ask permission before using the ICT facility and before conducting any activity that involves the facility. Also, respect on the intellectual property rights and any personal information by keeping it confidential. This simply means that they can freely use the ICT facility, but there are also limitations to avoid the users from damaging any property inside the ICT facility and to keep the facility a safe place for the allowed users. I am now done sharing the answers of the student that we have interviewed. Let me give the stage to the next reporter, Mr. Vince Mirande. Vince?
Thank you so much, Zia. So I am going to report how our interview with Ma'am Susan Sifra, a teacher from the Clum Elementary School, went. So we have chosen her as our respondent because she's a traditional teacher who experienced the gigantic shift of the system in school. So we took this opportunity to also evaluate how our traditional teachers cope with these changes, or if they're technically adjusting pretty well. So we figured it out after this report. So of course, we started off with a self-introduction and we indicated the purpose of this interview before we presented our questions. For the first question, which is, do you have an ICT facility in the school and what composes this facility? She answered, yes, we do have simple ICT equipment and facilities in school. Just like other public schools, we have computers, projectors, printers, internet connection, speakers, and I personally have a television in my assigned classroom. The numbers are very limited, but they can be very helpful. For the second question, which is who are allowed to use the facility, she answered, everyone is allowed to use the facilities. We use these instruments for quality and better teaching. Students can use the computers, but they are highly monitored. They can access the internet, but most of the time they are controlled because we prevent our students from entering a world that could slacken their growth. Also, these tools should only be used for school purposes. For the third question, which is, what are the policies, guidelines, and rules in the use of this facility? She answered, in our school, students rarely use the computers and the internet, but as far as I can remember, student users are only allowed to use the facilities for school purposes. They are prohibited to use Facebook and some other social media platforms. They are encouraged to use the technologies with proper care. Everyone is obliged to follow the allotted time bestowed upon every user. After using, users are required to turn off the tools and return it to its proper place. Lastly, users should ask permission and log their names before using these facilities. And the fourth question, which is, what are the e-safety rules that need to be followed by any user? She honestly answered, I'm not very knowledgeable with this part since I'm already old, but I think that users should avoid downloading risky files and the school should install antivirus to prevent spoofing computer threats. For teachers, they should back up their files every time. Users are required to log out any personal accounts. Lastly, users should always take great care with the personal information and photos they share online. Based on her answers, we can conclude that she knows these facilities and she's pretty much aware that there are existing policies to be followed. I do appreciate that she emphasized that students must be monitored and their access must be controlled. I think that she was honest with her answer, and in spite of her age, she knows how to safeguard these users, especially the students, against cyber issues. We actually salute her because we believe that these changes must have been very hard for her, and it probably took a lot of adjusting for her to master these concepts, because I believe that traditional teachers were trained with a set of skills that are not directly aligned with the kind of system that we have right now. So basically and definitely they really studied all of this just to still function and to be able to fulfill their role as an educator in today's modern world. So that ends my report, and allow me to call on Ms. Christine Landayan to discuss the commonalities between the answers of these respondents.
Good day, everyone. I am Christine Landayan, and I will be reporting the similarities that we had noticed on the answers of our respondents. So, what are the similarities or commonalities in their answers? Well, based on our survey, the ICT manager, student, and teacher all shared a thorough understanding of their ICT facilities policies, guidelines, and rules. Their responses were nearly comparable, and they all received the privilege of using or accessing the computers in their ICT facility. Their awareness of the safety rules shows that they are well informed about this matter. To elaborate, in question number 2.1, do you have an ICT facility in the school? What composes it? All of our respondents have similar answer. They responded that they all have an ICT facility in their school that is composed of a few sets of laptop or computers with a good internet connection. Next, on question number 2.2, who can use the facility? We have again noticed some commonalities on the answers of our respondents. All of them said that everyone, which includes the teachers, students, and school staffs, can use the ICT facility as long as it is for school purposes. Additionally, on question number 2.3, what are the policy, guidelines, and rules in the use of ICT facility? We found out one similarity in their answers. All of them said that one of the rules in the use of the ICT facility in their school include the proper care of handling of technologies. Last but not the least, on the last question, what are the e-safety rules that needs to be followed by any user? We managed to find some similarities in the responses. As what my groupmates reported earlier, the student, the teacher, and the ICT manager said that the e-safety rules that needs to be followed by any user in their school include avoiding disclosure of personal information and keeping the school devices secure. These are the similarities that we have noticed, and we can see that all of them are really familiar with the e-safety rules in their school, which is very important in order to keep ourselves safe online. So that's all. I hope you were able to learn something on my report. And now, may I call on Miss Louringel Ochavo.
Thank you, Christine. The differences of the respondents' answers was observed through the knowledge they had about the given topic. Among the three respondents, it was evident that the ICT manager answered with broader knowledge and perspective compared to the student and the teacher. The student's answers were short and was based upon her experiences on using the ICT facility. The teacher's answers were also based on her experiences as well as observance and knowledge about their ICT facility and e-safety rules. In particular, Ma'am Susan mentioned that in their school, the students had limitations due to limited tools they had. With that, the prohibitions or rules, especially in engaging and or using the social media platforms, become stern. As for the ICT manager, we observed that he certainly knows his venture as an ICT manager in their school because he presented us a detailed and informative answers. He listed all the e-safety rules that need to be followed by any user, specifically by the students. He enumerated that the students should be reminded of using incognito mode, close personal accounts and keep passwords privately, backup data, to never log in personal accounts in their ICT lab, to never upload or save personal pictures using the computer, and only use the facility for school matters. He also added that they also remind students to properly use computers with caution, like protecting their personal information and other correlated subject, matter, or topic. Overall, we gathered precise responses from our respondents. Furthermore, we learned how to put more importance to our security, may it be virtually or in actuality. The importance of e-safety rules composed mainly of the awareness and better understanding of the threats of cyberspace if used inappropriately. Essentially, if the user is a minor and a student, they are more of a target of various unethical behaviors found in the internet. In summary, we must be extra careful because nowadays enemies doesn't punch physically, but digitally. Our report ends here. Thank you for listening.